This tutorial is an experiment of marbleizing paper using common classroom materials of watercolor paint and acrylic. I am interested in creating paper that I can then do other projects on top of. Start with shaving cream, and you need the foam base and not the gel. And I did panic when I first did this because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gel. But then when I started mixing around, it started foaming up and it did work. So just double check that you're using the foam. First, I'm gonna try acrylic paint. I saw this on an art teacher's Facebook page that she used leftover acrylic paint to do marbleizing. And if there's one thing I have a lot of, it's leftover acrylic paint. You're gonna swirl your paint together to create your marbleized effect. Keep in mind the colors that you choose are gonna blend and mix, so you know what happens when you mix every color of the rainbow together. So pick colors that you think would look nice when they're swirled together. I haven't done this technique in a long time, so I'm kind of randomly swirling. I am sure that when I do this again, I'll be a little bit more controlled with my swirling and try to make some really beautiful patterns. Printing. You are going to press your paper down with your hand over your foam, and then you're gonna pull it. Oh, that looks good. You're gonna take something like a scrap of cardboard and you're gonna scrape the shaving cream off your paper, and the acrylic paint is gonna be imprinted on it. The beauty of this technique is you get to repeat your steps. I'm gonna change my swirls a little bit, trying to be a little bit more controlled, and I'm not adding any more paint since I can still see it setting in the shaving cream. Take a second piece of paper and press, pull, and voila, your second print is here. Take that same piece of cardboard or another one and scrape your shaving cream off. I did go another direction that time just to see what it would look like. I'm gonna do this one more time. I want to add more paint because I did love the softness of that last one, but I would like a little bit more of a vibrant color for this next piece of paper. So I'm just adding my darker colors and I'm doing my marbling. And I think it's gonna turn out cool because I have this kind of softer colors mixed, and then I'll have these bold splashes of blue and red on top of that, in theory at least. Take your third piece of paper and press. Pull that bad boy up, and boom, there you go. There's a lot of extra paint on that one, so I'm gonna scrape the shaving cream and the blobs of paint off, and this time I went from left to right. A little sloppy with that one, so I would make sure to press down. Okay, I'm gonna do this technique again, this time with watercolor, using the same shaving cream. I've tried this technique before with expensive Doc Martin, I believe that's the name of the brand. That sounds weird now that I'm saying it, but Doc Brown also sounds weird. I'll look it up. But there's a really expensive, nice liquid watercolor that's just great for this technique. I'm a public school teacher and I don't have expensive, nice watercolors laying around. So I wanted to see, can I do this technique with the pans of praying watercolor that I have in my classroom? I'm gonna keep my color scheme simple, and you can see that this is way more watery than the acrylic. It's kind of dripping down and splattering. So we'll see if it works out. Paper is really important, so I'm gonna use different types of paper with this one to see what works best with the watercolor. Again, expensive watercolor paper would obviously be best, but I don't have it. So I'm using just some watercolor paper that I have. Okay, did you see my fail? I totally did not swirl or marbleize, so let's do that now. So here's the first one that wasn't swirled, and it just kind of has a really light splatter effect, which I don't hate. So nothing wrong with that one. Now let's try it now that I've swirled it, and I am gonna add a little bit more color to it because watercolor, again, it's not gonna be as rich or as thick as acrylic paint. So I think that for this technique, I would maybe add more paint than I would think. And again, there's nothing wrong with really light color, especially if you're using this for a drawing or a print. You might want the background to just be barely there and not distracting from whatever you're gonna put on top of this. I'm gonna marbleize on top of this one. And by the way, I'm using a shish kebab stick that I use with my clay. You could even use like a pencil, a toothpick. Time to print. And this time I'm using cheap paper, like drawing paper that I just have laying around. So let's see if that shows up. I really like the colors already, and I'm scraping. Again, not so much marbled, more splattered, but I like how it looks. We're gonna do this one more time, and I'm gonna layer more colors on top of this. And I think every time you print, if you're gonna do just praying watercolor and not the like really rich and saturated, expensive ones, or even food coloring would show up better. Every time I think you would add more watercolor to your shaving cream so that it shows up. Now this time it really is looking more marbled. So let's see if that effect is captured on this thicker piece of pastel drawing paper. So let's see if that works out. Ooh, I think this is my favorite. I'm gonna scrape the shaving cream off, and wow, that's really vibrant. I don't know if it's the thicker paper or the layers of watercolor. You can see the first one's kind of meh, the second one's nice, but the third one's truly that marbled effect I was going for. I think all of the acrylic ones are successful. I do prefer the last one because of the vibrant colors, but there's something nice about the little tiny swirls in the first and second one. The watercolor is easier just because it's less messy and easier for cleanup, but I think the acrylic had more consistent results. I am happy with both results of this experiment and plan to use these for backgrounds for either drawings with pen or charcoal, and also for a printmaking project I have coming up. Stay tuned for those tutorials. If you're an art teacher or you love experimenting with art, don't forget to subscribe. I upload almost weekly. You can also find my lesson plans and rubrics at thatartteacher.com.